My name's Josh. I'm 28 now. But this all went down when I was about to graduate college at 23. I used to think my biggest accomplishment was putting myself through school. But my mom kept telling me to give credit to my stepdad, Greg. She'd say stuff like, if it weren't for Greg, you'd be flipping burgers instead of taking finals. And honestly, I believed it. He used to make these big speeches about sacrifice and hard work, and every time I questioned how he could afford it, he'd just pat my back and say, "Don't worry, son. I got it handled. I didn't press too hard. I was so busy trying not to. Drowning classes and part-time jobs that if someone said they were covering my tuition, I just accepted it." I figured maybe he had some savings or inheritance or something. There were moments when I'd feel uneasy about it, but he was always so confident, so sure of himself, that I felt stupid for doubting him. My friends used to joke that I had a sugar stepdad, and I'd laugh along because, in my head, he was this blue-collar hero who stepped up for a kid that wasn't even his. I even wrote about him in an essay once for a scholarship application, called him the man who believed. In me, when no one else did? That line still makes my stomach turn when I think about it. I really believed he cared, that he wanted me to succeed, that this was something we were building together, a future I'd eventually pay forward. Turns out I was just another prop. In whatever version of fatherhood he was performing, so for 4 years, I lived with this weird mix of pride and guilt. Pride that I was going to be the first in my family to graduate from college, and guilt because Greg apparently put himself in debt for me. He even made a show of driving this beat-up old truck, saying he'd sold his nicer one to help with. My future. My mom ate it up. She'd bring it up during every holiday dinner, bragging to the rest of the family about Greg's selflessness. I always thanked him. So every semester, every break, I made sure to say thanks. I even skipped spring break senior year to do work around the house for him, just to feel like I was paying something back. I painted their garage. I helped redo the porch. Even drove 2 hours to pick up a Craigslist washer because he said it was a great deal and he couldn't lift it alone. It felt good to help him like I was doing my part, even if I couldn't contribute financially. And every time I did something like that, he'd look at me and say, "This is why I don't regret a single dime." My mom would beam, started. Thinking of Greg as more than just a stepdad. I thought of him as a real father, someone who'd gone out of his way to give me something I could never repay. And honestly, I wanted to be like him. That's the part that really messes with me now. Graduation day finally came, and I was buzzing with this mix of excitement and relief. I had made it. I was walking across that stage, shaking hands, getting my degree, finally seeing the end of all those years of late-night studying and ramen noodles. My mom was there in the front row, tearing up. Greg was next to her, chest puffed out like he'd just won an award himself. After the ceremony, we all went to dinner at this mid-tier steakhouse. Greg picked the place, said it was his treat. That night, my uncle pulled me aside in the parking lot and said, "Hey, just so you know, your student loan stuff should be coming through soon. You'll probably get a notice once the grace period ends." I just stared at him. I thought he was confused. I said, "What loan?" And he gave me this look like I was the one who didn't get it. He looked uncomfortable, like he realized he'd just dropped a bomb he wasn't supposed to. He mumbled something like, "Oh, maybe I got it wrong." But I could tell he hadn't. That moment stuck with me as hesitation. His face. It was like the first crack in a wall I didn't even know was there. I tried to shake it off for the rest of the night, but I felt this weight settle in my stomach, and suddenly, I wasn't hungry anymore. Everything started feeling off, like I had walked into a room where everyone knew something I did. He told me my mom had mentioned a while back that I was using federal loans and that she'd even co-signed one of them. I felt this weird chill crawl down my neck. When I got home that night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled out my laptop and logged into the federal student aid site, something I hadn't checked in years because, well, I thought Greg had handled it, and there it was. My name, my balance. Over $72,000 in loans. I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like the ground had opened under me. It wasn't just that Greg hadn't paid it, it was that he had never paid anything at all. He hadn't even tried. Everything he said, every sacrifice he bragged about was complete fiction. And the worst part, didn't even know how long. He'd been lying to me. It made me start questioning everything had he ever intended to pay. Was this always the plan? Did he laugh behind my back when I called him generous? I remember just sitting there, alone in my room, hearing the faint buzz of my mom watching TV downstairs, completely unaware that everything I thought I knew about. The last 4 years had just collapsed in front of me. I didn't sleep at all that night. I couldn't. The next morning, I confronted my mom first. She looked confused, like I was speaking another language. When I showed her the loan account, her face just dropped. I could tell she had no idea it was that much. She kept mumbling, "I thought Greg was helping. Said he was covering it." That's when it really hit. Me, she hadn't checked anything. She just believed whatever he told her. I asked her if she ever saw a tuition bill, a payment, confirmation, anything. She said no. He always said he was taking care of it directly with the school. She whispered, like she was embarrassed to admit how blind she'd been. I could feel this pressure building behind my eyes. It wasn't just the debt. It was the years of trust I had thrown at this man who clearly never earned it. She looked so small in that moment, like a kid caught in the middle of a lie she didn't start, but helped keep alive. I wanted to scream, but I also didn't want to break her even more. I think part of her really believed she had been part of something good, something selfless. And realizing it was all fake seemed to be breaking her as much as it broke me. She just kept repeating, "I didn't know. I didn't know." I left before I said something I couldn't take back. When I went to Greg, he didn't even bother pretending. He just shrugged and said, "It's not like you didn't get your degree." I asked him why he lied, and he had the audacity to say you needed to believe someone had your back. "It kept you focused, didn't it?" I thought I was gonna punch him. Instead, I just stood there, frozen, because my brain was trying to keep up with how cold that was. He acted like he had done me a favor by lying. A false sense of security was some kind of twisted mentorship. Almost like he couldn't help himself, he added, "Besides, the money went to good use. You've seen your stepsister's house, right? That wasn't cheap. I swear, I felt something inside me break right then. My vision blurred, like my body was trying to shut down before I did something I'd regret. He wasn't even angry. Said it like he was proud, like he expected me to understand, as if throwing away my future was just a strategic move to help someone more in need. I remember thinking, this man thinks he's still the good guy. And that scared me more than the debt ever could. I couldn't even process that last part at first. I asked him to repeat it, and he did, completely calm. Said he used the money my mom gave him for my tuition to help his daughter, Lindsay, remodel her house after she and her husband had a new baby. I barely even know Lindsay. She's 10 years older than me, lives 2 states away, and only shows up for holidays, if that. Greg said something about how she needed it more, and that she has a family to think about. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was standing in front of the man who'd told everyone he was investing in my future, and he was basically telling me I was a bad investment. Like my education didn't mean as much as her new bathroom or her granite countertops. Like giving me a stable future didn't hold the same value as upgrading her kitchen appliances. It wasn't just betrayal, it was being deemed less valuable by someone I had looked up to. He made it sound logical, like a business decision. She needed it more, he kept saying, as if that erased everything, as if my years of effort, my dreams, my trust, none of it mattered because someone else had kids and a mortgage. I wasn't even angry at that moment. I was hollow, just standing there, absorbing blow after blow like my brain couldn't keep up with the emotional math. After that conversation, I just left. I didn't say another word. I got in my car and drove around for hours. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to not be near them. I ended up sleeping in my car that night in some Walmart parking lot, phone off, trying to sort through this mental avalanche. The thing that stung the most wasn't even the debt. It was the humiliation. For years, I thanked this man. I praised him. I worked my ass off trying to be worthy of what I thought was his sacrifice. And the whole time, he was funneling money to someone else. Someone who didn't even ask for it. Someone who never once thanked him for it, because she thought it was his money. Hell, I don't blame her, I blame him. And I blame myself for being so damn naive. I remember lying in the back seat, staring up at the ceiling of my car, thinking, how did I not see this coming? I kept replaying old conversations, old signs, trying to pinpoint the moment it all went off the rails. But the truth is, there wasn't one moment. It was a slow drip of bullshit over 4 years, and I drank every drop. That realization broke me more than the debt ever could. When I finally turned my phone back on, I had like 17 missed calls from my mom and 2 texts from Greg, both short, both saying some variation of, "Come home and be reasonable." I didn't answer either. Instead, I called the loan servicer and asked for a full breakdown. The woman on the line was nice, too nice honestly, which made it worse. She walked me through every semester, every disbursement. I had taken out loans for everything: tuition, books, housing, even meals. And every single one of those payments was under my name. Not Greg's, not my mom's, just me. I asked if there was any cosigner, and she said no, just federal loans. I hung up and sat in silence for a long time. I was in over 70 grand of debt, and not a single cent of it had ever come from anyone else. I just kept staring at the wall. Like if I looked hard enough, I'd find a way out of it. But there wasn't one. No loophole, no appeal. Just the cold reality that the financial safety net I thought was under me had never existed. It was all just thin air and trust. And I jumped headfirst into it. The worst part? I realized I would have never known if my uncle hadn't said something. That thought alone still keeps me up some nights. When I eventually talked to my mom again, she was crying. She kept saying she didn't know that Greg told her not to worry. He was managing it privately so I wouldn't feel guilty. I asked her why she never checked, why she didn't ask for receipts, why she handed him money without seeing. Proof it went to the school. She didn't have any answers. It's tears. That made me feel worse, so I know she meant well, but she trusted the wrong person. And now I was the one paying the price, literally. She asked if I wanted her to confront him again, and I said no. I didn't see the point. The damage was done. And whatever kind of man Greg was, he clearly wasn't capable of even pretending to care anymore. She offered to help me financially, to try and make it right, but I told her not to. She had already lost just as much as I had, maybe not in money, but in trust, in self-respect. I didn't want to make her pay for something she was manipulated into. I told her the best thing she could do was stop defending him. And to her credit, she did. At least outwardly. But I could still see the conflict in her eyes. It's like a part of her still needed to believe it wasn't all a lie. I didn't go back to their house after that. I moved in with a friend for a while, until I got a decent job and could afford my own place. Every time I'd get a call from my mom, I'd hesitate before picking up. Sometimes I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't love Hertz, just that every conversation felt like a minefield. She'd always try to bring up Greg like nothing had happened. He asked about you, or he saw your LinkedIn update. I'd just change the subject or go quiet. She eventually stopped trying. It was like she didn't know how to talk to me anymore without bringing him into it. And honestly, I didn't know how to talk to her without wanting to scream. Even though deep down I knew she got played just like I did. I ended up telling a few close friends what happened, and they were all shocked. One of them said it sounded like something out of a movie, which pissed me off more than it should have. 'Cause to me it didn't feel dramatic. It felt stupid, ugly, real. It felt like the kind of betrayal that doesn't come with a climax or some big confrontation. It just slowly eats at you. I'd catch myself remembering dumb little things like how Greg used to call me college boy with this proud smile, or how he once gave me a toolbox and said, "For when you're an engineer and have your own place someday." He was so good at pretending, I think he believed it himself half the time. That's what messes with me the most, not just the lies, but how casually he lived in them. About 6 months after graduation, I got a letter in the mail from Lindsay. Just a handwritten note folded into one of those floral Hallmark cards. She said she had heard some things and wanted me to know she never asked Greg for money. That she didn't even know it came from my mom's tuition fund until way after. The remodel was done. She said she felt sick when she found out. At the bottom, she wrote, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I thought you deserved to know." I didn't respond. I didn't even know what to say. I wasn't mad at her. How could I be? She was just a piece in Greg's game. And like me, She had no idea she was being used to prop up this ridiculous narrative. He built about being the world's most generous stepdad. The student loan payments started not long after. $642 a month. That's rent in some places. And every time I make that payment, I remember sitting at that graduation dinner, thanking Greg for giving me a future. I've stopped talking to most of my family about it. Some of them still think I'm being dramatic, that I should let it go and be grateful I even got a degree. But they weren't the ones who lived with that lie, weren't the ones who gave speeches at family parties about how proud they were of their stepdad, while he sat there lapping it up like he was some damn hero. I had to learn the hard way that people will let you believe whatever makes them look good, even if it costs you everything. A few months ago, I bumped into Greg at the grocery store. I hadn't seen him since that last conversation, and I honestly thought he'd avoid me. But nope, he walked right up like we were old buddies. Asked how work was going, told me he saw my name on some alumni newsletter. I didn't say much. Just nodded, answered in one-word replies. Then he said something that almost made me laugh. He said, "See? Told you it'd all work out in the end. It's like the last few years of lies, debt, and betrayal were just a phase. It's like I should be thanking him again." Stared at him for a second, then just said, "You're unbelievable," and walked off. I left my cart in the middle of the aisle and drove home shaking. I think the worst part is knowing that there's no fixing it. There's no apology that would make it okay. No amount of money that would erase what it did to how I see people now. I question. Everything, every offer of help, every kind word. I double-check things that shouldn't need checking. And yeah, I know that's not healthy, but it's just how I've been wired since that day. I've been slowly paying off the debt, working my ass off to build something of my own, on my own. I'm proud of that. But every once in a while, something small will bring it all back. A form letter from the loan company, an old photo. Even a line from a movie, and I'll remember that for 4 straight years. I thanked the wrong person. I've thought about confronting Greg again, maybe just to get some kind of closure. But every time I imagine it, I realize it would be pointless. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. That's what makes it so maddening. In his head, he still thinks he played some father figure role in my life, like he deserves credit just for being present. But presence without honesty is nothing. It's worse than absence, because it gives you this false sense of security like you're standing on solid ground until the floor drops out from under you. That's what he gave me. Not support, not love, just the illusion of it. And I don't want illusions anymore. I've never told my coworkers or boss any of this. They know I have student debt, but not how I got it. Not what it cost me emotionally. Sometimes I wonder if I should share it. Like maybe someone would say, "Yeah, same here," and I'd feel a little less isolated. But I never do. Part of me still feels ashamed, like I was stupid for falling for it. Even though I know that's not fair, Greg manipulated both me and my mom. Still, it lingers. That sense that I should have seen the signs, that I should have asked more questions. But I didn't, because I wanted to believe I mattered that much to him. And that, I think, is what hurts more than anything. I tried therapy. For a while, not just because of Greg, but because I started noticing how much trust issues were bleeding into other parts of my life. Dating was a disaster. I'd meet someone, things would be good for a few weeks, and then I'd start waiting for the catch, like, when are they going to lie to me? It's exhausting living like that. The therapist told me I was grieving not just the money, but the relationship I thought I had with someone who played a father role for most of my life. And she was right. I didn't just lose trust in Greg. I lost something I thought was real, something I relied on. Even if it was fake, it still shaped who I thought I was. One night, I pulled out this old picture from my graduation dinner. It was me, Greg, and my mom. I had my cap off, big smile. Greg had his hand on my shoulder. I stared at it for a long time. I remember exactly what I was feeling in that moment. Grateful, hopeful, proud. I almost laughed at how clueless I looked. I ended up tearing it in half. Not out of anger, really, but more like drawing a line. That person in the photo didn't know what I know now. And I don't want to keep pretending I'm still him. I've made peace with a lot of things, but I'll never get over how easily someone can betray you and walk away like nothing happened. It's been 5 years now. I've never spoken to Greg again. My mom still lives with him, and I've accepted that she Probably always will. We keep things surface level, holiday phone calls, occasional texts, but it's not the same. She never brings him up anymore, and I think that's her way of keeping some kind of peace. I don't push. I don't visit. I've carved out a separate life for myself, one where I don't have to see the man who sold out my future for a bathroom remodel. People say time heals everything, but I think sometimes time just helps you build better walls. And mine are pretty solid now. Sometimes I wonder if Greg even remembers what he did. Like, if he ever lies awake at night thinking about it. He really did convince himself it was the right call. I'll never know. All I know is that the day I graduated, I walked across that stage thinking someone had my back, and it turned out no one did. That moment plays in my head sometimes, and it feels like a glitch in my memory. Everything looked right on the outside, but underneath, it was already broken. And maybe that's the most messed up part, how something can fall apart so quietly that by the time you hear the crack, it's already done.